Hey, thanks for checking out a new series that I'm offering on my channel called Reviews from the Bargain Bin. I'm the casual console gamer, and today I'm reviewing One Punch Man, a hero nobody knows. This came out in 2020, and unfortunately it had a rocky launch, resulting in the online servers shutting down in 2022. So if you decide to pick up this game, just remember that there's currently no online functionality. So why did I play it? There's actually 3 reasons. The first is that I recently had a chance to finally watch the second season of One Punch Man, and I loved it. So it left me looking for more content after catching up on the manga. The second reason is that A Hero Nobody Knows is currently 90% off on the PlayStation Store. You can pick it up right now for $5.99 US, and even though there's no online multiplayer and the game is pretty mid, it's definitely worth $6. The third reason, and this one is more of an interesting fact, the developers of A Hero Nobody Knows are about to release a new fighting game called Dragon Ball Sparking Zero, which is currently making the hype rounds. This game and Sparking Zero were both developed by Spike Chunsoft, so playing this one may give you some insight on what to expect from Sparking Zero. All that aside, what's One Punch Man, A Hero Nobody Knows like? Well, it's Dragon Ball Xenoverse, but set in the One Punch Man universe. If you played that game or its sequel, A Hero Nobody Knows is definitely going to be instantly familiar to you. Its mission structure, character creation, and combat are all straight copies of Xenoverse, just not as polished or offering the same variety. For anyone who hasn't played Xenoverse, here's how A Hero Nobody Knows works. It's a fighting game set in the One Punch Man universe. You create a character that's a new hero, a Class C nobody that is working their way up from the bottom. One Punch Man's Earth is riddled with monsters and evildoers, and in response, a hero association was created to combat. The character creator is pretty simple. It's basically just a bunch of bits and pieces taken from heroes and monsters throughout the game, and you get to pick and choose the pieces you want to build your hero. Do you want Saitama's face with Genos' body and King's scar? Sure, here are all the pieces. That means while you have some cool combinations, none of them are really unique. You're going to see the same faces or costumes nearly everywhere in the game, just in different colors and combinations. It's one of the first things that you're going to notice that gives you a hint that A Hero Nobody Knows feels rushed. So you create your hero and you're released into the wilds. The main hub area is just a few city streets with sections blocked off until you hit certain story milestones. You do missions from the HQ, which are always fighting monsters. This is where the main gameplay starts. A Hero Nobody Knows is a fighting game, but just not a very good one. The fast-paced, interesting combat of Xenoverse, they had you unleash hundreds of different moves and attacks as you sped around this large map, are completely absent here. A Hero Nobody Knows is extremely limited in its attacks. Each are taken from one of the main heroes in the story, and you can only use abilities that match an overall archetype. For example, using a weapon or maybe your power type that tackles and throws. That means there's no using cyborg attacks as an Esper. You basically only get a handful at a time, and it never really feels good. Combat is just not great. Your character gets stunned quite easily, and the enemy AI can pull off combos like a pro sometimes, while you're often stuck with simple punch combos. It can be a little bit hard to describe, but don't expect the fluid combat of Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. It's also in a 3D environment, meaning you can run around and gain distance from your opponent, but this just means that often the enemy AI stands on the other side of the map and powers up without doing anything at all. It's made worse by the fact that the camera is just as big of a hindrance as the enemy, with things happening off screen that you can't see. It's not terrible, it's just serviceable at best. As the story, it runs through the first season of anime, with Saitama and all the characters showing up throughout it. Your character is basically just thrown into the series, with you becoming a disciple of Genos rather than Saitama, and you can become friends with all the main characters as you do missions for them. But that leads to the main gimmick of the game, and the thing that I think is the reason the game failed in the first place. It's Saitama. How do you balance a character that kills everything in one hit? You can't, really. The main missions are often just survive against a super powerful monster until Saitama arrives and kills it with one punch. Apparently, it's the reason the multiplayer failed, since you can assign Saitama as a character in your roster. A Hero Nobody Knows is a 3-on-3 game, where you have heroes or monsters on a timer set to arrive. So, you may be fighting and there's a timer letting you know the backup is on the way in a few seconds. As you fight, the next character comes in and you can switch between them. The monsters can do the same. But when Saitama comes, he takes no damage at all and can kill everything with one punch. He's basically just a you-win character. It matches the narrative of One Punch Man perfectly, but as a game, it's funny at first, but then it gets old quickly. I wanted to keep this review short, so I'll only touch on a few other parts of the game. The audio has both Japanese and English voiceovers, and I tried both. Japanese is better. All the main characters from the manga and anime are here, as well as most of the villains from the first season. I will say some of the monsters that the developers made from the bits and pieces of all the characters are pretty hilarious. Just expect to see a lot of repeats. The last thing I want to talk about is the loading screens. This is an Xbox PlayStation 4 game, and I played it on the PS5, so the load times are faster than they would have been on the PS4, but the load screens are everywhere. You want to do a mission? Load into the hub, walk to the HQ, pick a mission, load into the fight for like 30 seconds, load back into the hub, rinse and repeat. Want to fast travel? Load. Fight? Load. Talk to somebody? Load. They're everywhere. And for a game this small, it's really baffling. I mean, you can have an open world game like Breath of the Wild on Switch, and that has seamless transitions a lot of the time. But not this one. Also, there's not a lot of maps, so expect to see the same city, street, and park every time you fight. It did take me 15 hours to beat, and that's with doing most of the side content. So there's a lot to do here, making it worth the $6 I paid for it. Just don't expect a 10 out of 10 game. It's more like a 5 or 6 out of 10. Thanks for checking out my bargain bin review, and make sure to like and subscribe for more content.